Hey everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video, and in this one I am creating a cutout page with a transparent layer behind it using one of Dina's transparencies. So I have taken one of the pages in the small craft journal and cut it into a heart shape, making sure that part of it was still attached. So you can see I've just left a little border on the left hand side of the page as well. And then the page behind, I'm using some black gesso, so my background behind is going to be black, and the heart I'm going to do in really bright colours. So the reason for the black is just so the colours will really stand out and pop against it. You'll notice I've also put some tape down the spine. So one thing I have found with some of these journals is that sometimes the spine can split a little bit. I do tend to alter my journals quite a lot. So, you know, you're adding in extra bits and bobs, cutting things out, sticking extra things in. You can make them more bulky. And this is a good way just to help reinforce the spine a little bit too. So now I am using some of Dina Wakley's heavy body acrylic paints to add some bright colours onto the heart. The usual culprits here, I'm using ruby, tangerine, lemon lime, turquoise, and then I think I used blackberry and permanent red violet light from Amsterdam Acrylics. And I'm just adding little patches of colour all over the heart. I did dry the layers in between. Obviously you're not seeing that here because geez, that would just bore you silly, wouldn't it, watching me dry stuff? So I've edited those bits out just so that it's a bit less boring, really. Oh yeah, this purple isn't blackberry. This one is an Amsterdam acrylic and it is ultramarine violet. Then this is my Wonky Hearts stencil from Funky Fossil, and I'm just using a little bit of carnation through here. Quite often I will use one of Dina's pastel colours as a layer over a bright background. It's not as sharp a contrast as white, it's a little bit softer. This is my heartfelt stamp, also from Funky Fossil, and I'm using some of the pink Amsterdam acrylic paint on there with a blending tool just to get a nice coloured image of that on the page as well. Don't forget, when you've used acrylic paint on your stamps, give them a good clean. This is my favourite text stamp of the minute from Natalie May Scrapbooking. Just adding, excuse me, a little bit of stamping onto the background. So then the back of this heart, it was what to do with that. So a rather large blob of matte medium, and I'm using some of Dina's jumbled letters and sticking pieces of that on. So kind of patchworking that into place, really, just to get it covered. Not worrying too much about bits that are upside down and some the right way up, just to create some interest on the back of that heart. So quite often when I do cut out pages like this, the back of it I'll just paint black because I don't always think about both sides, but I think because the page behind the cutout heart was already black, this idea worked quite well, just to add that interest on the back of this one, using that lovely collage paper from Dina with the jumbled alphabet. Yeah, and it's quite easy to do as well, just to sort of patchwork those little pieces on. Easy, she says, struggling to stick a piece in. I don't quite know what was going off there. So this is where the transparent layer comes in. I'm using one of Dina's transparencies and I'm going to stick it in as the rest of the page behind the heart that I've cut out. So it's going to be cut to the same size as the pages in the journal, as you can see, just cutting it down, and then I am going to stick it to the back of the heart. This just gives the page a little bit more stability, because obviously there isn't a great deal holding that heart in place, and just adding that transparency just sort of gives it, like I say, a bit more stability and another layer of interest too, because you've got the reflective quality of the transparency. So that was some of Dina's ultra thick gel medium that I've just popped on the back of the heart there, and sticking that in place, and then just adding a few little staples in place too, just to help it stay put. Then on that background behind, I decided I would use that space to do some journaling. So I've just grabbed my Signo Uniball in white, and I am just adding some scribbly writing in place, doing a bit of a brain dump really. This was a page inspired by Pride Month, yeah, these were just some thoughts that came tumbling out. And I'm doing the kind of writing where I am just joining all my words together. It is scribbly, it's not meant to be read. And I think in a situation like this where you are just emptying thoughts out of your head, the scribblier the better, because sometimes you don't want anyone to pick up your journal and read what you've been thinking inside your head. So the scribblier you can make it, the less intentional, the more effective it will look. And certainly doing that white writing on the black background works really well. So a few more staples just to make that heart stay put on the transparency. And then I'm just outlining the heart using a black Posca. This would work just as well using some black ink on a blending tool and just going around the edge of the heart before you stick it to the transparency, just to give it a bit more definition. So then I am adding on my words. Own who you are and celebrate it. I mean, that applies to all of us, doesn't it, really? We're all different, all individuals, and that's what makes the world an interesting place. And I think as long as we're not harming anybody else, then does it actually matter? We should all be super proud of who we are, the struggles and things that we've been through that make us who we are. Yeah, so this was ever such a fun page to create. And you know that I do love making cutout pages in my journals. I think just altering pages, changing them up is a really fun thing to do. So once I'd done that, I decided I was going to outline my letters. And you see straight away that has the effect of pushing them into the background a bit more than they are when they're just in black. This is quite a nice thing to do, you know, if you want your words to be there but not be as in your face as they would be if they were just black. Just adding an outline, particularly in white, will just push them into the background a bit more. A little bit time consuming, but it's quite effective when it's finished. And you can see that that also works with the white writing on the black background behind. It kind of pulls the pages together and gives them that cohesive feel. So then I've just grabbed my neon pink Posca pen. I've done I primed the pen on my glass mat, can't think. Added some water, and I'm just giving some splatters onto that back page as another little pop of colour on the back. And then obviously that needs drying really well before you shut your book. There we go. There's the cutout page with a transparent layer behind it. So using those transparencies to kind of mix up your journals a little bit more. So thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again soon.